working for several companies back in 2008. And let me ask yourself, is life better than it was back in 2008? Because the actual unemployment rate in 2008 for February, and this is from the actual unemployment rate in the U.S., it comes out to 4.9%.
4.9%.
That was the unemployment rate in February of 2008. Now, when we look at it now, 7.8.
Yep.
I mean, that's like a 3% hike.
Well,
almost a 3%.
You know, if we stay on this path and we just make sure that everyone gets free sketty and butter, and we listen to Honey Boo Boo, America's gonna get fixed. Woo! Yeah. Everybody listen to Honey Boo Boo. You know, because she knows what's best for this country.
Oh yeah, you gotta go to a 3-year-old.
Oh God.
Well, anyway.
Ermagerd.
Word.
I had to throw out the Ermagerd.
All right, so we've seen a lot of talk about the economy. Of course, some of y'all watched the debates. I know a lot of people were wondering, was that whole thing about horses and bayonets and Joe Biden laughing? Is that really all that we're going to get from Obama? I mean,
well, we may get chlamydia from Obama.
STDs.
We may get some STDs from Obama. Our economy
Like
did.
it has STDs.
Our economy did.
Yeah.
No, seriously though, this guy is horrible for our economy. He's horrible for our country. I'm a Gary Johnson supporter. All right, I love Gary Johnson. I'm out there supporting him, but at the same time, I think that we need to get somebody else in office. We need somebody like Mitt Romney in office. And yes, Mitt Romney may not change a lot of things, but at the same time, I do believe that he will slow down the financial crisis that we are in enough for us to have time to shift the country in a different direction. So Obama, like the longer a guy stays in office, the longer he's driving down the path of destruction, he's going to stay on that path of destruction. The further he gets, the faster he's going to go. So if you get Obama out of office, it's going to take a little while for Romney to get settled in there and start doing stuff. Also on top of that, we need to get Obamacare repealed. I do believe that Romney will repeal parts of Obamacare. I don't know if he'll do the full repeal and all that stuff like he said. But he did promise the American people, which you got to listen to this, he promised everybody, and he promised the people that elected him, all the people that are around him, that he will send out a waiver to every state. And that waiver will basically allow the states to not have to pay the tax. So there's going to be a ridiculous amount of tax on each individual. He's going to run tons of insurance companies out of business. We'll all have government health care, basically, government insurance. And what's bad about that is, first off, there's nothing free. Something sounds too good to be true, it is. Second off, when you have something like that's run by the government, I guess you could say, like health care, you see horrible decline in the quality. Yeah. And the quality is just going to go down the tubes. It's going to go down in a bad way. And the thing about it is that if you look the way that certain governments have run their stuff, no people can compete with the government because they print as much money as they want. They do all this stuff. But when the government is in charge, there's no other companies around. You get put on a waiting list. Say you have cancer, you want to get medicines. They're going to see if you need that certain medicine. They will approve it or not. And you may be on a waiting list for a while before you can get operations you need, you get other stuff you need. They won't give you medicines you need. They will be rationing stuff. They'll be spreading stuff out. It will cause a horrible decline in the quality that we have that will allow a lot of people to die. It really will. Yeah. It's honestly very barbaric if you look at a lot of the ways that they're going to run the stuff. I would rather have Canada's healthcare system than Obamacare also, because if you look at some of the things that are in Obamacare, they are messed up. Yeah. And on top of that, this president is the president that has passed the National Defense Authorization Act, which allows them to detain and treat American citizens like they are terrorists. And if, whatever reason, if you disagree with them, if it states in there that they can permanently detain you without trial, no courts, no nothing. This guy is the worst big government of the big government. This guy's a warmonger. This guy's out there doing crazy stuff.
Well, see, he tried to make himself look like the anti-war candidate.
He did, and it really pisses me off that, like, a lot of the people in the media.
Who got us into Libya?
Yes, this is the deal. A lot of people in the media, they were out there preaching how Bush was the big war guy. Well, Bush was a big war guy, and, I don't support that. But at the same time, Obama's no better. The guy's worse. He's got us in more wars.
Who was Obama's Secretary of Defense? George Bush's Secretary.
Well, it's
Secretary
stupid
of
because
Defense,
all of a
Robert
sudden, all these so-called anti-war people are all pro-war. The second Obama's in office.
Well, he wants
They're
to
all
celebrate.
pro-war.
He wants to celebrate killing Osama bin Laden, and then come back out and say,
Well, he wants
I'm
to take
against war.
credit for killing Osama bin Laden. It's taken a lot of people.
I'm all for killing Osama bin Laden.
Oh yeah,
I don't.
I think you would be an idiot to not, if you had the opportunity. The CIA came to me and I was president. And the CIA said, "Hey, we know where bin Laden is. We can send out We're talking to the SEALs, or we're talking to the Navy people like that about taking them out. What is your word?" Of course, he would have to say go. I think even Jimmy Carter, as bad of a president he was, he would have said yes.
Yeah.
So the only guy, and this actually is out there. There's new evidence. The only guy that said no, don't take him out, was Joe Biden in the office when they were talking about it. So that is kind of ridiculous to me, but I'll have to do some more research on that. But I heard that the other day on the news.
So we hear a lot about Obamacare and about the RFID chip. Now, going back just real quick, I want to let people know things about that promise. That promise that Romney was going to give us a waiver and all this kind of stuff. I know a lot of people, you say, well, you can't trust politicians' promises. I totally agree with you. So does JD. But here's the thing. He has to fulfill some promises.
Well, he has to, because if he doesn't, I'll tell you this. His feet will be held to the fire to an extent. There will be a point where when he's in there long enough and he's gotten enough, the same way Obama has. He's in there long enough. He's going to be able to get away with a lot of crap and start doing all that stuff.
Promises.
Of course he will.
You got to expect that.
But I do believe that he would be the most, unpopular, horrible president ever if he made this huge promise to everyone, and then on day one he doesn't fulfill on that promise. People will hold him.
Because this is a day one thing. He has to do this on day one.
He's promising it.
So he's going to do it by executive order. It's not like he has to wait for Congress to give him the right, which, of course, I think he should have to. I don't like the whole thing about the president having the power to
I don't
say
either,
this
but if
or
one
that.
president's doing something, let the other president undo it, then it should just be, how do you put it? If one president's doing all this stuff and saying it, it should just be, the law should not be passed. Like, we should allow it to where the president, that whole law that he tried to pass, was undone.
Yeah.
So, just say it's an invalid law.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Let's just say that the law is invalid. So, the whole thing with all the individual mandates that Obama's pushing and all these other people, even Romney, let's just make it where all those laws are undone because they're unconstitutional.
That's what I think. You could say, Romney, of course, was saying, well, his health care law was passed in Massachusetts on the state level, but I still think it was unconstitutional on a state level.
Oh, it was very unconstitutional. On the state level.
You should not require anyone to have to buy health care.
No, you shouldn't. It's ridiculous.
They should have the choice themselves.
There was a rumor about an RFID chip, which a lot of you don't know. It's a radio frequency chip.
What's that all
the
about?
chip goes inside of you. Now, people were saying that it was in Obamacare, and then it came out where it's supposed to be a hoax and all this other kind of stuff. The deal is that we don't know how much of it is true and how much of it isn't because Obamacare is such a complicated bill. Yeah. But it is stated that in, I think it's H.R. 3963, down on like page 1500 and something, that it does say, and it's very loosely translated, but it does say that, and you can go look this up, it says that the government can implement a radio frequency device or a class 2 device and use this device to measure health purposes and blah, blah, and it says all this other stuff. You read into that, you go and look, there is parts about it for the FDA and all this. The FDA already approved this stuff. You go to the FDA's website, you look up a class 2 device, you will find that it is a RFID chip. It is a radio frequency device that monitors your health.
Implant.
It's an implant. It is an implant that tracks people.
In your body.
Well, a lot of people have already talked about this. Even Joe Biden and all of them, they've already talked about it. Nancy Pelosi, these people have mentioned it. They've said that they thought it was a good idea. They need to push it forward. Right. So there's a lot of stuff there. But, do the research yourself. I'm not going to try and sit here and persuade you with all this stuff because we're running out of time. But I will tell you that. Another thing about Obama that is just really disturbing lately is with the National Defense Authorization Act, we have seen them using more and more of their power to kill people. They're using drone strikes, all this stuff. Well, they're going after United States citizens now. They're going after them. And, Obama has a kill list.
Now it's you're saying, okay, they're going after citizens like down the street.
Well, I'm going to play this kill list for you.
Well, check this out. This is the kill list video that we found, and we're going to play.
Well, I found an article from Reality Check, and they did a video on there, and the guy actually gets an interview with Barack Obama. So
here it is.
Here it is.
The discussion of a presidential kill list, despite its enormous constitutional ramifications, has gotten very little attention from the national media. The idea that the commander-in-chief, regardless of who it is, has a list of people, including American citizens, who can be killed without trial, isn't just a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. So I wanted to know. The so-called presidential kill list has gotten a lot of attention, and this list of folks who have been targeted for assassination, right. And on that list have been U.S. citizens who have not been afforded trial, including Anwar al-Awlaki. How do you, as president, or any president for that matter, regardless of party or person, utilize that power to assassinate even U.S. citizens?
Well, first of all, you're basing this on reports in the news that have never been confirmed by me, and I don't talk about our national security decisions in that way.
Well, what an answer. The president won't confirm that list, but he won't deny the list. Okay, but let's add another layer here, because that presidential kill list, it didn't just get out because of hard-nosed journalists breaking the story. It was leaked by the administration. In that two-shot, I nodded my head when the president said that he hadn't confirmed these reports, and that's true. So who has? Well, to the New York Times, William Daley, President Obama's chief of staff in 2011, talked openly about this kill list, saying the administration knew they couldn't simply just go on adding more names indefinitely. Dennis Blair, the director of national intelligence until he was fired in May of 2010, said the discussions inside the White House of long-term strategy against al-Qaeda were sidelined by intense focus on strikes of targets who were on that kill list. So on that first point, the president acted like this was something secretive that he's never commented on. But it is clear that members of his administration have no problem talking about the kill list to reporters. Maybe because those reporters have helped to frame the president as tough on terror. But there's more.
More broadly, though, our goal has been to focus on al-Qaeda, and to focus narrowly on those who would pose an imminent threat to the United States of America. And that's why it's not just bin Laden, but a whole tier of al-Qaeda leadership has been taken off the field. And that's part of what has allowed us to now begin to transition out of Afghanistan, to begin to bring our troops home.
Again, what the president said here misses at least one important point. The president's war with al-Qaeda has gone far from the borders of Afghanistan to nations like Yemen. It was in Yemen where President Obama ordered the death of Anwar al-Awlaki, who, as I mentioned to the president, was a U.S. citizen, and yet was never afforded trial. In fact, 2 lawyers simply decided that al-Awlaki could be killed. In addition to killing him, the president also ordered a drone strike that killed al-Awlaki's 16-year-old son, Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki. That 16-year-old, also a U.S. citizen, born in Denver, Colorado. So for the president to make the argument that killing those U.S. citizens without due process in Yemen means the end to the Afghanistan war is simply disingenuous. So what you need to know, the way the president played this issue with us is really quite telling. When questioned about the constitutionality of a president, any president, having the power to order the deaths of U.S. citizens, he claims that he's never said that he has a kill list and can't discuss it further. A constitutional lawyer turned president using a power that violates the most basic principle in the Bill of Rights, leaking his use of it when it's politically expedient, then claiming it can't be discussed when it's not. And that is Reality Check.
All right, so there you go. We were just talking about that. We were talking about that right there. But basically, man, it's kind of disturbing if you read some of the other stuff on this kill list and the National Defense Authorization. But we got to go. But we will be back, and I hope.
We will be back.
Here's my comrade Joe.
Thank y'all for having us. Thank you for listening. We're going to be releasing another segment here pretty soon. So definitely tune in. We are back from the dead. FMC, Full Metal Conservative.
Oh yeah.
Good Romney style.
Good Romney style. All right, everyone. Remember to vote. Vote for Romney. Vote for Trump. Get Obama out of office. For the love of God. All right, we love you. See you later.